I've driven over 3,000 miles to photograph icebergs in Newfoundland. I'm a landscape photographer who lives full-time in my 4Runner Ross, and we just spent over 2 weeks in the Great Northern Peninsula chasing icebergs. It was time for some new scenery and to head to a place I've never been, Labrador. My hope was to re-energize myself with the new place, find some more icebergs to photograph, and ultimately just see what's over the horizon. And while I did get to explore Labrador, my biggest discovery was within myself. This is episode 3.
Alright, good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we are headed to Labrador, a place I haven't been to before. Now, Labrador is part of the Newfoundland province. It's Newfoundland and Labrador. However, land-wise, Newfoundland is the island in the northeast and Labrador is the area next to Quebec and Greenland. So we're going to travel up there. It is pretty remote. Like I had to look to make sure I could get gas some of the places that I was going. So we'll have to wait and see what that's going to be like. But we're on the hunt for icebergs, just like we were up here in the north part of Newfoundland. But I don't think it's going to look totally different than where I just came from, but it is going to be a new area that I'm excited to go explore, see what we can come up with, and take you along for the ride. So let's dive in and get started. Well, I got to wait for that. We're just sitting here waiting for the ferry. So once we get on the ferry, that's when we'll get moving.
Haven't seen you. As I crossed the Strait of Belle Isle, I reviewed a few of my images from the last few weeks and contemplated what else I'd hoped to find in the coming days of my exploration to Labrador. I was mostly happy with the iceberg images I had captured thus far, especially given the conditions of the last week or so. Yet, I wanted more, which always seems to be the sentiment of an artist. Actually, I guess you could say, it's what humans continually strive for in general. The pursuit of finding satisfaction never seems to end. Why is that? Why is it that no matter how much we accomplish or the goals that we cross, there's always another finish line to reach? I think about this a lot. I've made a few videos that even touch on the subject, specifically defining our success. Because in many ways you could say accomplishing your goals makes you successful. If I think about it too much, I start to get that sense of existential dread. You know the one, typically associated with contemplating our own existence, realizing just how small we are in the universe. That's a different mental crisis for another video though. Think about it though. If you realize this cycle never ends, as soon as we catch that carrot ahead of us, we already want another carrot. So why even try? What's the point if we just never feel content no matter what? Right now, for example, I think about how focused I am on having a financial year where I don't end up in the red. And I think to myself, imagine, I suddenly earned 6 figures this year. A sense of relief washes over me. Finally. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that as soon as I cross that finish line, I'm already thinking about what's next. More subscribers, winning a photography contest, getting married, or having children. I spend a lot of hours trying to remind myself of how far I've come without dismissing the hills that I've climbed. Yet it's almost as if the thing driving me to always push, to explore and grow myself more, to be out here in the middle of nowhere just to see where the road leads, that once I find what's over that hill, or lay in that green grass on the other side, I'm already thinking about the next hill to climb or imagining what kind of grass might be out there. It's a blessing to keep me going and a burden to never let me stop. Food for thought. Anywho, we've made it to our destination.
Thank you.
I don't have much of a plan here in Labrador. The goal is to head up to Mary's Harbour and explore around a little bit. The weather is a mix of light rain and lots of overcast throughout the entire day. Basically what it's been the majority of the time I've been up here. I'm excited to see what we find though, as I feel like this is one of the most unexplored spots that I've been to thus far in my travels.
Oh, look at that little guy. A little porcupine. Cute.
Labrador is part of the Newfoundland province, but only has 6% of their population, roughly 26,000 people, which would put it at less than the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and even none of it. Some of the road you'll see me driving on wasn't even paved until 2022, which has been an ongoing project since the 1970s. Things really do move slow around here.
Where have you been? Haven't seen you since I don't know when. Guess it's where the wind has blown.
A couple of fun facts about Labrador that I wanted to share are, well, the first one being, there's not a lot of fun facts about Labrador. But yes, if you've been wondering, the dog breed known as a Labrador Retriever, or just Labradors, get their name from the province of Labrador. They originated from a breed known as the St. John's Water Dog that were imported to the UK from Newfoundland and needed a name. Thus, they called it the Labrador. Another cool fact is that during World War II, a German U-boat set up an automated weather station here named Weather Station Kurt, which is the only known armed German military operation on the North American mainland during the war. It apparently only broadcast weather for a few days, but more impressively, it wasn't discovered until 1977. Mary's Harbour, which is where we're headed, has a population of 312 people. Something I always ponder when visiting these places is just how different life must be. On one hand, you have all the basics like electricity, food supply, and even Starlink now, which for me personally is a huge one. Modern internet in the middle of nowhere. But you're also so removed from all the consumerisms of daily life. There's no Amazon Prime or Walmart. There's not an REI or a mall to randomly walk into and buy a bunch of clothes. Need a new hard drive for data backup? Need a new lens for your camera? That'll probably take a couple weeks. Honestly, it doesn't sound all too bad, getting away from all the access to stuff. I also think to myself, could I do it? Could I survive in such a place? Well, of course I could survive, but could I be happy? I'd like to think so sometimes, especially now with the access to modern internet. However, the moment I realize I'm visiting in the nice months and thinking about how harsh the long winters are in a place like this, I snap back to reality and think, okay, maybe life on the road isn't so bad.
All right, we've made it to Mary's Harbour, which is the furthest point we're going north here in Labrador. And my plan was to take this boat ride, ferry ride, over to a place called Battle Harbour to see this historic area. However, I just checked the dates and it doesn't start until June 1st. It's currently May 29th. That means I'd have to wait tomorrow and the next day to go on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. And I don't really know if I want to sit up here for 2 or 3 days just waiting to do that. It didn't necessarily come up here for that. I actually came up here to photograph some more icebergs. But the reality is I got up here and the lay of the land is we're pretty far out from sea, even though when you look on a map, it doesn't necessarily look like you're that far out. It looks like you could probably see some icebergs. But I didn't see any in the bay when I flew the drone. So I think what I'm going to do is tomorrow wake up, kind of explore around, ask around, see if there's any earlier boats, any other boats going or anything like that. And just explore the area a little bit and then maybe hit the road again, maybe go if we can find something. I don't know yet, but stay tuned for that. As you can tell, there's not going to be much of a sunset tonight, so not really shooting anything for that. But the adventure continues tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching.
Before we start tomorrow's adventure, let me tell you a bit of history about this place. Mary's Harbour was developed mostly as a result of a fire wiping out Battle Harbour, which is the island that I planned to visit but couldn't get to. Believe it or not, Battle Harbour was once known as the capital of Labrador, as it was the main hub and gateway for those seeking to fish in the resource-rich waters of Labrador. A fire in 1930 decimated much of the island, which resulted in most of the community relocating to what is now Mary's Harbour. There's quite a bit of history here, and it truly feels like I'm going back in time when visiting a place like this.
All right, good morning, everyone. Last night there was a nice thunderstorm, so I got to go to sleep to the sound of the rain hitting the top of Ross. And it was honestly super peaceful. This morning it was still pretty overcast, but the sun is now coming through. And yeah, we're not making it to the island. I guess I came here just a couple days too early, but it's mostly my fault since I didn't really research a lot of this before getting here because it was not my priority. So there's not a whole lot of icebergs or anything to take photographs of here. So we're going to explore a little bit further north to a road, the 513 Iceberg Alley. I don't think there's going to be a bunch of icebergs on it, but I want to go up there since I'm up here anyways and just explore around. And then we're probably going to head to Red Bay and go take a boat ride to a little historic spot as well today. The weather seems pretty nice, kind of windy. We're on the road. Let's see what we can find when we get up there, see if there's anything. Again, there's no way to research what any of this stuff looks like, so I just have to go and see it for myself, which is what we're going to do.
Well, the sun didn't stay out for long. A woman I met here told me that if I don't like the weather out my front door, to look out the back door. which I absolutely tried, but sadly I was surrounded in Ross. The weather looked more promising to the south, but first I wanted to explore around a bit more up here before leaving, so I decided to take this dirt road to St. Louis. No, not that St. Louis. This one is this small community, but apparently it's also the most easternly permanent community in mainland North America.
There's a million trails to get where you're going. You set your sails, you find a deeper ocean. You're just beginning. And this boat you've been rowing is only gonna take you where the river is flowing. Yeah, it's flowing. It might be today, maybe tomorrow. It's one foot down, let the other one follow. And keep going.
I arrived and got the drone in the air in the hopes of finding an iceberg or two. There were a few, but quite far away, and nothing too impressive, especially in this light.
When you look around, feel like you don't fit in. Just run your own race, no matter who's winning. There's no winning.
No luck for photographing icebergs here, and with the conditions like these, it was time to hit the road and head back south to Red Bay in hopes of finding some sunshine. But first, I gotta do that thing we all dread doing. Travel notes, May 30th, 2024. If you died tomorrow, did you love yourself today? Don't take life for granted. In the blink of an eye, everything can change. So forgive often and love with all of your heart. You'll never know if you've had the chance to do it again. Just because your life isn't perfect doesn't mean you're failing. Recognize how far you've come. Remember that you're living in at least one answered prayer right now. You might not have it all, but at one point you wished for the things that you have now. Whether it's being where you want to be, having the career you want to have, finding the partner you hope to find, or overcoming fears of your past. How much easier would your life get if you finally took a break from wondering what you could be doing better and took a step back to appreciate how well you've been doing? When I said to forgive often and love with all of your heart, that includes you. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
You know, doing dishes on the road is a right pain in the butt. And I like orange juice, but orange juice leaves glasses, pretty dirty. So a great way to avoid doing dishes and still drink orange juice is just drink it straight from the bottle. No one else is drinking out of it. Little pro-life tip for traveling on the road.
After some orange juice, progress in my audiobook, Geddy Lee's autobiography if you're wondering, in a couple hours driving south, we have reached a break in the clouds as we near our destination of Red Bay. Thank goodness, because I'll take any sunshine I can get. The trade-off for such beautiful midday light was the wind. That was a trade I was willing to take.
Okay, so we've made it to Red Bay, but I am currently hiding behind this building so I could talk to you because it is quite windy. But the lighting right now is my favorite type of midday light, especially out here on the coast. It's just got this nice touches of gold hue and almost this sparkle or atmosphere in the air, which is great for midday light. And it just creates this nice little hazy look on some of the images. So what I'm gonna do is just walk around here with my R7, my 18 to 35, which is 28 to 55, and just walk around and take some scenes that feel like Labrador or Newfoundland to me. And probably won't be able to talk to you too much just because the wind is, if I step out here, the wind is pretty crazy. Yeah, so let's go see what we can find.
Looking back on all the years I've spent, thinking about the places that I've been. Have I wasted time? I know I will never get back.
right, I went to have some dinner and warm up, and I came back out here and I was like, oh great, the wind has kind of died down. And I'm still here for sunset. The only problem is the conditions are much more gray and overcast now than they were about an hour ago. You know, that's Newfoundland for you. Well, honestly, that could be a lot of coastal areas, but definitely seems to be par for the course. So I don't know if I'm going to get anything for sunset. And the guy that takes people across to this thing wasn't here today, or at least I didn't see him. So I couldn't go across. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly the drone over there just to get some footage of it. Hopefully it's not too windy. It doesn't feel too bad right now. I think it's probably drone safe. It was not earlier. I probably could get away with it, but it's got to be really worth it for me to want to fly the drone in higher winds. You know, a polar bear or a bear or something going on where it's like, okay, get the drone up there. It doesn't matter if it crashes. So speaking of the drone crashing and me being out a lot of money, I'm going to be selling a print folio for this trip. You can find the link down below. It's basically something you can pre-order, and it's going to be 5 images on fine art paper from this trip, and it's a way to support me and also a way to get something in your hands that is absolutely beautiful. You can have some of them framed. You can leave it in the print folio and put it on a shelf. I shouldn't have taken the stairs after eating such a heavy meal. Whew. But you'll find all the details for that down below. It's going to have a personal Polaroid. All of the images are going to be signed. It's going to be amazing. I hope you look at it down below. Thanks for watching. Let's get the drone over the air.
On the surface, Red Bay looks and feels like any other small fishing town I've passed by here in Labrador. However, it gets far more visitors because it's considered one of the most precious underwater archaeological sites in the Americas. During the 16th and 17th centuries, this area was a major Basque whaling spot, and several whaling ships, both small and large, sank here in Red Bay. Enough in fact that Red Bay became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2013. These sites were crucial in understanding the development of Basque ships from the 16th century while also helping paint a picture of the history of whaling in the area. The Basques were among the first people to catch whales commercially and dominated the trade for over 400 years. That was until they started teaching others their knowledge and nearly pushed bowhead and right whales to extinction. At the peak, around 20 to 30 ships were sent to Newfoundland each year from Spain or France. These ships would return with 6,000 to 9,000 barrels of whale oil to Europe every year. It's estimated that on average, each ship would catch roughly 20 whales per year. It didn't take long for such hunting to cause a decline in the whale populations, and even by the end of the 16th century, it was becoming apparent. These excursions still carried on for more than 100 years as other nations started commercially whaling, but eventually reaching an end when it wasn't lucrative anymore. After flying the drone, I headed back further south and passed by what looked like a decommissioned road. Curiously, I turned around and decided to drive down it. I didn't find much, but I did run into this little guy. I wonder if they're related to the one that I saw yesterday. Back on the road, and as you can see, the sun decided to hide behind some clouds again. Thankfully, as I got closer to the coast, it cleared up a bit. I even managed to get a bit of a sunset on this beautiful coastal road that I decided to turn down. This lighthouse, known as the Point Armour Lighthouse, is the second tallest lighthouse in Canada. One thing that I thought was interesting when I did a little research was that from 1879 to 1963, the lighthouse only had 3 lightkeepers: Matthew Wyatt, Thomas Wyatt, and Jeff Wyatt. Talk about a family tradition.
All right, we have parked for the evening where we're gonna sleep right here. We are not too far from the ferry, but right there, that little bright light you can see, because the sun is down. We're going to take that back to the island of Newfoundland tomorrow. Labrador has been amazing. Didn't stay here very long, didn't expect to. People were great. The weather was about what I would expect, and all things considered, a lot of history, but not a whole lot going on in terms of things to do or see outside of if I just wanted to stick around and wait for better weather, wait for an iceberg to pass by or something along those lines. But I'm really glad I came. It was really cool. There's definitely so much history of whaling, and then I also just passed where that scene of the lighthouse and stuff was a burial ground from 8,000 years ago. Insane. Anyways, stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll see what we get up to. First thing we gotta do is wake up pretty early to get on this ferry. What's really interesting is right there, that ferry is technically in Quebec, but I'm standing in Labrador still. And the problem is, when you cross over that line, there's an hour and a half difference time zone wise. So my phone has automatically crossed over, but the ferry is on Newfoundland time, so that means that the 8 a.m. ferry in Newfoundland time is 6:30 my phone time, meaning I gotta, it's just annoying. I gotta make sure that I set the right time because my phone is switched to a time that, it doesn't matter. We gotta make sure we get on it. Worst case scenario, if I accidentally sleep in, there's another ferry later that day. Okay, sleep. All right, good morning, everyone. Got a bit of a travel dilemma this morning. That is, once I get off this ferry back onto the island, I have to decide if I want to go back north to St. Anthony or head east on the island. The difference is, heading north means probably more icebergs, if that's my objective. Heading east probably means far less chance of any icebergs. Judging by all the reports and stuff like that, the iceberg season this year is not great, so the only real way to see them continually is up in St. Anthony, which is where we have been for a lot of this journey so far. And I thought I was done. Thought I was leaving there, coming down here, and then heading east and just getting what I get. But the thought of not taking any more iceberg photos is like, okay, I have to make that decision. I have to say, okay, what I have is okay, and maybe I'll get something else, but probably not. It's a tough decision to see if I want to get more iceberg photos or not. I would love your input on this, but you're not going to see this video for probably a couple months. So I got to figure out what decision I'm going to make. And honestly, I'm assuming whatever decision I make is the right one. I don't think there's a wrong one here. I just have to be at peace with the decision I end up making. Which way to go? Left or right? A literal crossroads, if you will.
Wherever you're going, wherever you're at, don't get stuck while it drags you. Wrapped in the past, wait for summer to find you. It's gonna work itself out.
Ultimately, I decided it was time to move on from the wet, cold climate of the Great Northern Peninsula. As much as I would have liked another good sunrise or sunset with some icebergs, I felt like it was time for me to see something new and try to get away from all the overcast or rain. I decided to head to an area that I had never been to before and see what I could find to photograph there. But first, I had a much needed pit stop.
I don't know how I'd have felt good about leaving my job back in San Diego.
As I listened to this 7-hour podcast about the band Pearl Jam while driving through the rain, I humorously thought to myself, oh, it's a real good thing I left the icebergs to get down here and avoid the rain. Stealing brown the barrel, I'm going. Alright, just got a couple hours of work done. It's been a very long day. And as you can tell, these are the conditions. And it's predicted to rain for the next, 4 or 5 days. So, I don't know when you'll see me next. Could be tomorrow for some nice sun. Cross your fingers. Could be 4 days from now. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here on this journey, regardless of what happens.
Good morning, everyone. Something that is impossible to show is just how cold it is in the car when I wake up in the morning. and it's very hard to get up because it's so cold. Oh, and it's so nice and warm in here. Well, the good news is it looks like it's not raining, but it is very overcast. The bad news is I gotta get my butt out of this bed. Okay, here we go.
All right, made it out of bed, got some coffee. Today's plan is to just explore around. Considering I haven't been to this peninsula, I haven't been to this area, I don't know anything around here. I don't know what the, oh, that's a big waterfall. See, exactly. I don't know anything that I could see here where the icebergs might be, if there are any. So the objective today is to just drive around and see what there is to see. Now, the conditions for weather are not necessarily the best, but I need to know where the spots are when the weather does change, rather than trying to find them when it is good. So we're just gonna drive around a little bit, just explore around, and then probably sometime in a couple hours, end up in the coffee shop, on the laptop working, getting all the office work done. But for now, let's explore around.
You've likely noticed throughout this episode that I didn't take my camera out very much. Even now, it feels as if I'm forcing myself to try, even though I'm not really feeling inspired. Pushing myself and making the best of what I had, but still not connecting with what I was being presented.
7 wonders, sleeping in the sand. Ancient lovers, reaching out their hand. Visions without you, with or without you, there is no sky. Starting without you.
Travel notes, June 1st, 2024. One day you will realize that happiness is not what your house looks like, but how you love the people within its walls. Happiness is not finding success by a certain time, but finding something you love so much that time itself seems to disappear. Happiness is not thinking you have earned the world's approval, but waking up each day and feeling so at peace within your own skin, quietly anticipating the day ahead, unconcerned with how you're going to be perceived. Happiness is not having the best of everything, but the ability to make the best of anything. Happiness is not something that comes to us when every problem is solved and all things are perfectly in place, but in the shining silver linings that remind us the light of day is always there, if we just slow down enough to notice.
Okay, I gotta be honest with you. I am struggling. Today definitely just feels like one of those really low days, maybe just in general, but I really feel like I'm taxed with this overcast, moody, rainy all day weather. And it was similar to this the last time I was in Newfoundland, but it wasn't this bad. And the fact that I can count on less than a couple fingers the amount of sunny days I've had. It's one thing when I'm just out here and living somewhere, but it's another thing to be in the car when it's rainy and windy and cold and wet, but also trying to take photos at the same time. It's just, let's just say, wrap it all up into mentally taxing. I had a really tough time getting out of bed today. I am not feeling very inspired. It's been very difficult to motivate myself to work, to want to shoot, to want to really do anything. And I'm hoping tomorrow things will be better. I know the weather won't change. The current prediction is just constant cloud and overcast for another 7 days. And I'm trying not to let that get to me. But I just wanted to document that today has been hard mentally. And some days are like that. A part of me just wants to get in the car and just literally drive back to somewhere where it's sunny and just be like, why am I here? But for now, I'm going to forgo those thoughts and go get some food and hope that tomorrow is better. All right.
Good news. The next day was in fact better, but the bad news is you're going to have to tune in next time to find out what happens. Thanks for watching. There's got to be a rainbow out there somewhere, but definitely not in this episode. See you on the next one.